Thank you, Christina. And we'll wait for those horns. I don't know how many cars have been triggered there. Let's just make sure it quiets down. It was kind of a cacophony of excitement over the greetings, you know. I hear one more. Thankfully. Because it's kind of hard to do a meditation when you have those horns blaring in the background. All right. We'll wait for people to come back in. Yes, it is quiet. Maybe we'll start the meditation after all. I invite you into a period of quiet meditation. Quiet. Close your eyes if you wish. I'll start again. I invite you into a period of quiet meditation. Close your eyes if you wish, and get comfortable in your seat. Think about that father figure you carry in your heart. I invite you to remember the gifts and the wounds you received from that person or persons. If any feelings come up, just breathe deeply and honor those feelings as a connection with your own heart. So for now, we'll breathe deeply for 5 seconds. In, out. And now, as we close our meditation, I invite you to listen to some fathering words that we don't get to hear often enough. So breathe slowly, deeply in and out as I read the words to you. I love you, just the way you are. I have confidence in you. You can achieve your goals. I will stand behind you. You can depend on me. I am proud of you. Stand up for yourself. Your opinions and feelings are important. I have faith in you. When you're ready, you can breathe deeply 3 more times and then open your eyes. Thank you, everyone. Today's message is about fathers and Father's Day. When I was putting this message together, I went back to my days as a child and how my father influenced me in my life. I did that to seek inspiration for this talk. But I realized that Father's Day celebrations of my childhood are gone. They're beautiful memories. But we want to look at Father's Day as it is now in today's world, because just in the last few years, we have changed culturally significantly. I realized that I can tell you some facts about how fatherhood is viewed in the U.S. currently, but I cannot tell you what it feels like to be a father in today's society. Even the title that I have of pet parent doesn't provide the insight necessary into fatherhood as it is currently viewed. Luckily for me, I have 2 friends who are going to help us. We'll hear Cody Ruiz and Ben Barwick talk for us, giving us their insights into fatherhood as they are experiencing it today. We will hear from them a little bit later. For now, let's start with the definition of father. According to the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, 5th edition, father, a noun, at least as a noun, a male whose sperm unites with an egg, producing an embryo. A male whose impregnation of a female results in the birth of a child. Or a man who adopts a child. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary says the following. Father, a noun. 1, a male parent. 2, a man who has begotten a child. 3, one related to another in a way suggesting that of father to child. Little twisted logic there. or capitalized, Christian writer accepted by the church as an authoritative witness to its teaching and practice, called also the church father. 5, one that originates or institutes. 6, a priest of the regular clergy. And 7, one of the leading men as of a city father, a leading man, I guess. So not exactly giving me a lot of warm fuzzies when I think of father as I read these things. So looking into the inside of what is Father's Day, I decided I wanted to look at it differently. I decided at first, well, what about Father's Day, the national holiday as it is known? Right? This came about here. So we're going to start with the quiz. What year was, no, those yellow slips are not for that quiz, by the way. What year was Father's Day officially made into a national holiday in the U.S.? Your choices are 1910, 1924, or 1972. Shh, hush, woman. It's supposed to be, I'm supposed to, you're taking away my fun. Give me the fun. All right, so show of hands. Who chooses 1910 as a holiday? Okay. All right. Next, who chooses 1924 as a holiday? All right. Finally, who chooses 1972 as a holiday? All right. The answer will be obvious enough as soon as I tell you the story. The name of the woman in the picture is Sonora Smart Dodd. She was born in 1882. At the age of 16, she helped her father raise her and her 5 siblings after their mother died during childbirth of the youngest sibling. About 10 years later, in 1909, she heard a sermon about Anna Jarvis's Mother's Day celebration, which was first held in 1908. She then went about convincing the pastors of the Spokane, Washington Ministerial Alliance to hold a similar holiday for fathers in their community. She suggested June 5, which was as the holiday because that was her father's birthday. But due to circumstances and time and difficulties, it was held actually on the 3rd Sunday of the month on June in 1910 in Washington, D.C., Spokane, Washington, at their YMCA. Unfortunately, it didn't make much of a splash nationwide, even though in the 1916 celebration, President Woodrow Wilson spoke. And in 1924, President Calvin Coolidge recommended that it become a day of observation, although he suggested a date to be held in November. The years go on, and in 1938, the Father's Day Council, a group founded by the New York Associated Menswear Retailers, joined Dodd to help promote the holiday. It still took time. A lot of people thought it was one of those where you're just trying to sell stuff to us, which is kind of correct to an extent. And they had seen that already experienced with the Mother's Day celebration, so they were kind of a little iffy about the whole thing. All right, so in 1966, jumping ahead here, President Lyndon B. Johnson issued the first presidential proclamation honoring fathers and designated the 3rd Sunday of June as Father's Day. But it was not until 1972 when President Richard Nixon, yes, Tricky Dick, signed the law designating the 3rd Sunday of June Father's Day and made it a permanent national holiday. So for those of you who guessed, yes, Miss Big Mouth, 1972, we know each other very well, Christina and I. 1972 is the official start of the holiday, even though there was prior holidays. In fact, there was some controversy. In 1908, there was a single Father's Day celebration at a church in West Virginia that later on they were trying to claim that they were the originators of Father's Day celebrations, but people say, well, you only did it in your church, you didn't do it in town, and it didn't go anywhere else, so that's why Miss Sonora got the whole thing for her. So, okay, covered the definition of father. We talked a little bit about the national holiday. Let's move now into some factual information about how Americans view father and fatherhood. So this is one of those, there's going to be 2 slides on this. This comes from the Pew Research Center, and it was collected between 2021 and 2022. So up to 85% of fathers say being a parent is one of the most important, if not the most important, aspect of their personal identity, which was heartwarming to hear that. According to a 2021 American Time Use survey, most of dad's time with their children is spent playing or providing care, more so if the child is under age of 6. Sadly, in my opinion at least, the average time which they reported was 1 to 2 hours a day. Okay, so I thought, well, the more children a couple has, the more likely the husband is to be the family breadwinner. Up to 77% of Americans say it's best for children when their mom and dad both focus equally on work and taking care of their kids at home. Still, up to 57% of American society values the contributions men make at work more than their contributions at home. And up to 56% of fathers who are married or living with their partner feel judged by their partner for how they parent the children. Still, and up to 93% of dads place a high priority on their children becoming honest, ethical, and hardworking adults. And finally, up to 75% of dads also value their children becoming adults who are accepting of people who are different from them. So, next slide, we're gonna do part 2. We're just gonna wrap this up on numbers. 75 million. That's the number of men over the age of 15 who have biological, step, or adopted children. And this is in 2021 again. 7%. That is the percentage of fathers who are stay-at-home dads. In a 1989 survey, this was 4%. 1.7 million. The number of single dads, according to the Census Bureau, which is surprising to me. At least the number higher than I expected. Finally, 63%, the number of fathers who say they spend too little time with their children. So I've given you lots of numbers, which is a little too much sometimes. And we're now going to hear from current dads of young children on how they view father and fatherhood, and in their opinions, even how today's society views fatherhood. Speaking will be Cody Reese and Ben Berwick. Cody Reese is from Barstow. I thought it was Barstool, but it's Barstow, California. And he's currently a biology professor at Bethel College, and we must again congratulate him because he's on the 10-year track, so we're very excited for him. And second will be Ben Berwick, who is originally from this area, South Bend, and who is a bike mechanic and changing jobs, and anyway, I'll let him tell you about it. So why don't we start with Cody. Coming up here, introduce yourself and tell us all about fatherhood and what that means to you. Thank you, Cody.
Hi, thank you for having me. Please silence all phones and car alarms before I begin. Francisco asked me to share some thoughts about being a father, and I was thinking about it the past couple weeks, kind of off and on, and I, started getting in my own head, and I have a lot of angles that I want to talk about, so I kind of organized it into 2 sections here. So just a brief intro about sort of my background growing up in my family, then my personal experience as a father today, and then as a biologist, just a little bit about the biology of fatherhood, which is sort of a overlooked area of research. There's Dr. Lee Gettler at Notre Dame has a whole laboratory that studies the biology of fatherhood. So I want to share some of his work and his colleagues' work, and what that means about your own biology changing as a father. So first I'm gonna bum you out, and then I'll maybe cheer you up a little bit, and then I'll wrap it all up. Okay. So I'm Cody. I've got 4 years into the service as a father. My daughter turned 4 in February. You see her run around. Her name's Denny. She's wearing a bright pink dress today. And being a dad is a huge joy for me. Here's the bum out part. So I grew up pretty much without a father. The only really memory I have of my dad was him being very violent towards my mother and siblings. and he ended up serving 7 years in military prison for domestic abuse. So the bar was pretty low for me when it comes to being a good dad. I never really had a model for a father growing up. Closest I had was my grandfather, who helped raise me, and rest in peace. He was a great man. So what I learned about being a father kind of directly comes from him, as a father and as a grandfather especially. So for me, Father's Day has always been difficult. I never really had a chance to celebrate it because I didn't have a father. And that year, it would always come around each year, and I'd always get into these sort of funks, kind of blaming myself, like, why can't I just have a family with a father and do the whole, give a gift, breakfast in bed, and all that stuff. But that just never was for me growing up. But as a kid, I always knew that when I got older, I would be a father, and I would be a great father. I kind of made that conviction from early on. And I'm happy to say today that I think I'm, living that dream. It's been fantastic. This morning, I was given this checklist by my daughter. Step 1, stay in bed, and we will make you breakfast. Step 2, coffee. Step 3, card. Step 4, painting. Step 5, flowers. And then step 6, hug and kiss. And all of those were achieved successfully. Here's the card that she made at her school. It's a little shirt, and then you kind of open it up. It's like a suit and shirt. And it says, Te amo, Papa, which she goes to a Spanish immersion school. Here's the painting. Fantastic painting. I asked her this morning, which one is me, which one is you? She said, the big one is me and the little one is you. And I said, that? Are you sure about that? Doesn't make sense. And then she realized, okay, the little one is me, the big one is you. I got breakfast in bed. I got a new stud finder for Father's Day. So this afternoon, at the barbecue, I'm gonna check myself and make sure it works. Get some laughs there. So it's going very well so far as a father. I think Francisco did a very good job summarizing what it means to be a father. In today's society, I think a lot more millennial dads are invested. And I was thinking, why is that the case? I mean, there's a stereotype with boomers where the fathers are more distant or absent or not as involved. I don't think that's necessarily true. That's not a broad blanket. I think there are plenty of great dads throughout history. But for some reason, millennial dads are just reversing the narrative entirely. I think millennial dads are much more present, involved. That could be a function of women's liberation and more women having careers. And that just sort of creates demand to have more involved dads. I think there's a little bit of social media where you're sort of, showing the world your personal life. So you don't really want to be a bad father if you're on social media and everyone knows you're a bad dad. So you kind of want to be a good dad, maybe. I think there's a combination of all these different factors. But for some reason, millennials are doing a good job of being dads. So I'll transition to my second part, the biology of fatherhood. And the main thing, the one take-home point, this is your educational point for today. New fathers, brand new fathers, have a 25% decrease in testosterone after becoming a father. And that's been shown in the Philippines, in Republic of Congo, different field sites throughout the world, that new fathers have a drastic drop in testosterone. What does that mean? Well, lower testosterone feedbacks with oxytocin, so now you get more oxytocin in your system, and you become a better caretaker. That's good, I think. And also lower testosterone means increased adiposity, more fat tissue. And males tend to deposit it around the viscera, which, that's just a product of low testosterone. So the dad bod is a sort of biological reality, and it's not your fault. It's just you have lower testosterone. That's an evolutionary process. It's not something new. It's been that way for a long time. And speaking of evolution, I just want to point out that humans are a rarity when it comes to having fathers that take care of young. 4% of mammals engage in what's called biparental care, where both parents look after the young. Among primates, there's only a handful of South American primates, marmosets and tamarins, that have active dads. Most dads in the animal world, especially mammals, are absent. They're off doing their own thing. Some dads even eat their own children in the animal world. But for human males, we're this sort of rarity where we have lower testosterone, increased caretaking, increased body fat, and we look after kids, broadly speaking. So human males are kind of a one-off, kind of a unique creature. And knowing this, plus my own personal background, I think it culminates in this sort of kind of sense of I'm a good father, not just from my own lived experience, but I'm a good father from a biological point of view. I'm doing what human males are good at doing. And I think all of the social stigmas and the social cultural waves of, absent fathers, hardworking fathers, emotionally distant fathers, I think that's being put to rest. And I think that millennial fathers are really getting in touch with their biology, listening to their biology, and doing a good job when it comes to caretaking, myself included. Thank you.
Thank you, Cody. And now I know why you were kind of late arriving, but that makes good sense. All right, for our second speaker, let's bring up Ben Barwick. Mute yourself. Okay. Oh, sorry. All right, come on, Ben. Ben Barwick from South Bend will talk to us next. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Ben Barwick, he, him. I have two living daughters, May, who's 9, and Lydia is 6. And I have one daughter who we never got to know, who we only ever knew by the nickname of Kidney Bean, died before birth. For obvious reasons, I've been reflecting a lot on what fatherhood means to me since Francisco asked me to speak today. My own understanding of fatherhood has evolved throughout the stages of my life. A dad can mean many things to different people, and I've experienced more than one. So today, I thought I'd share a bit about that journey with you and how it has become one of the strongest forces to shape the way I look at the world, those around me, and the way I look at myself. 38 years ago, I was born in the hospital in Goshen. Obviously, I have no memories of this. What you know about your young life is shaped by what those around you tell you. That day in my memory was shaped by a story my mom tells far too often about my dad sharing golf stories with a doctor while she was in labor. She was irritated that neither of them paid attention to her. In my mind, she's furious that this momentous day in her life, the birth of her third child, had become so routine, it was less interesting than golf. I'm not up here to tell you about my entire life, but this story illustrates my first belief, at least that I can remember, about what a father means. Throughout my life, my dad has sometimes been there for me when I needed him. Other times he wasn't. But the one constant has always been that when emotion starts to show, it was no longer his place to be there. And in the religious community I was raised in, this seemed pretty normal. Dads were there to be rock-solid role models. They were there for showing things like how to use tools, how to work hard, how to behave in a way that would gain you acceptance from others. So this is the lens I started to see fathers through. Dads were there to look to listen to respect, but they were also distant, only there in the present when they wanted to be. Dad was there on Dad's terms. It's not hard to see how my dad saw his dad this way. It's not hard to see how this view on dads is a generational cycle. My dad's dad wasn't taught how to do emotions, so my dad wasn't taught how to do emotions, so I wasn't taught how to do emotions. I'm only speaking from my own experience, but I do think our society expects dads to be this way to some degree, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. When I was 30, my daughter May was born. Out of intuition more than anything, I knew there was something wrong with how I viewed dads. When I imagined having a child, I thought about tickling, naps together on the couch, reading books at bedtime, playing pretend together. But that wasn't how I remembered my childhood. I knew I wanted to give my children something different. I didn't know what that meant, so naturally I did the exact opposite of what I had experienced fathers doing, and I became a stay-at-home dad. Nothing in my life has ever been so draining, so exhausting, so earth-shaking, but I wouldn't change a thing. The cliches were all true for me. I loved my 2 baby girls with all of me. I gave them all my energy, all my time. I tried to be the dad I wish I could have. I wish I could have had. But if it was easy as that, the world would be an entirely different place. I found myself torn in two. The dad who was fun and cared more than anything. The dad that was always there, but also the dad who sometimes erupted in anger. The dad who could be very impatient and not understanding. It took a lot of courage. It took a lot of patience from Kaylee, my wife. But eventually I started seeing a therapist. Bit by bit by bit, I started to see how my ideas of what a dad was had rooted deep into me, deeper than I knew they ever had. Being a dad seemed different then. Being a dad got deeper. It didn't just mean being present. It didn't just mean being fun and caring for my children. Being a dad meant changing me so children could walk their own paths in life, not the same potholed freeways to generational trauma. After about a year seeing my therapist, we had a breakthrough. It turned out I had ADHD, along with alexithymia, which is, and this is really going to be shocking, a neurophysical phenomenon characterized by significant challenges in recognizing, expressing, feeling, sourcing, and describing one's emotions. It turns out I had been living my life wearing a mask. And this brings me to the next phase of my views on parenthood, the view I have now. Being a parent is not about being a role model. It is not shaping children to be the people you imagine they could be. Kids are not made out of clay, despite what religion tells us. Kids are people. People with a lot to learn, yes, but they're just people. They're going to grow up, whatever you do. And while they do, they are learning every second. You can try teaching them how to socialize with their peers, how to fix things, how to not tell the person who cooked dinner that their food is a disgusting mess that they would never eat in a million years. But that's not the lesson you're really teaching them. Being a parent is being in a relationship with these little people. And being in a relationship means everything goes two ways. Being a parent means bending with the wind and letting yourself see life from the perspective of a 6-year-old who desperately needs their hair dyed right this very moment, or the world will explode. Because honestly, when you've only been around for 300 some weeks, one more week is a long time. And how many times in my life have I needed something done right now? How could I get that and she doesn't. But also, she really does need to get her shoes on right now, and we are going to be late. Being a parent means sometimes taking on more load than you should because these kids have swimming lessons, then a birthday party. Then they need you to glue the ear back on their toy rabbit. Then they want you to paint their nails right before bed. But it also means holding up your hands and saying, no, I just don't have the energy for this right now. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that for me, being a dad, or any kind of parent figure, is figuring out how to be whole, how to untangle as much of yourself as you can. Because someday, these kids are going to be adults, and they are going to look in a mirror, and no matter what you've done, how much you've already untangled, they're going to have something that feels all tangled up too. And every bit of me that I untangle makes their tangled up knot that much easier to tease apart. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, and thank you both, Ben and Cody. Very inspiring. It is time for our offering. I was thinking of doing a Madonna video called Papa Don't Preach, but I thought that may look kind of bad. So instead I am going to use a video because I want us to turn to remembering the father and father figures who are not with us today. That video is called Luther Vandross's Dance with My Father. He co-wrote this song with Richard Marx. He based the song on his childhood memories of his own father who died from complications of diabetes when Luther was 7.5 years of age. He recorded this song just prior to suffering a stroke at the age of 52 and then died from complications of stroke at 54. While the video plays, there are yellow pieces of paper that are in your order of service. What I want you to do is on this piece of paper, I want you to write a word or a brief thought or even a simple drawing that you would love to share with your father or father figure who is no longer with us. After you completed this, fold the paper in half once, and then again, to keep it private. The greeters, when they collect at the end of the video, will collect those pieces of paper also. And my plan is to burn them so that your thoughts and messages can be symbolically sent to those not with us. This is similar to Joss papers,